Good morning, everyone. Tim Nyland here. Today is Wednesday, December 9th, and this is our weekly strategy call for Zacks Professional Services. Each week, we focus in on what's moving the market, interesting trends, and investing opportunities. If you have a topic you'd like me to explore in a future video, please just leave me a comment below. You can also check out previous strategy calls on our channel, and you'll also find many more videos on investing and making the most of Zacks Pro platforms. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and make sure you never miss any of our future calls. Today, we're going to pick up where we left off on our analysis of Tesla last week. We're going to look at how Tesla broke through to institutional legitimacy and use this as a model to look at another potential hypergrowth candidate. In the spirit of full disclosure, I do not own Tesla, but the company we're going to unveil today just so happens to be a very large personal holding of mine, making up roughly 5% of my personal portfolio. Hypergrowth investing is very speculative in nature, is not suitable for all investors, and I'm not here to pitch Tesla or this next hypergrowth candidate as a buy or a sell. Rather, I'm here to simply identify analytical issues of relevance for you, and from here you will need to draw your own conclusions regarding any buy or sell decisions. Let's go ahead and get started. Last week we left off with the following one-year percentage change chart in EBITDA growth, and I identified our next hypergrowth candidate that we would be looking at this week. And although EBITDA growth is important, there are a ton of other factors we need to consider, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's talk about how Tesla did it. Total addressable market is probably one of the largest factors involved in these hypergrowth stock investing scenarios that we need to be on the lookout for. And in the case of the electric vehicle market, the total addressable market globally is absolutely massive, right? It's currently only being served at 1 to 2%. And Tesla represents a 3 times lead, I call it 3x lead over the nearest competitor. And these numbers are as of the end of September 2020. And you can see the year-to-date sales and obviously market share. So Volkswagen at 6%, Tesla at roughly 18%, and you can see all the other players below. EV market share is forecast to rise to 30% of all new vehicle sales by 2030. This is obviously a massive TAM. Again, we call that the total addressable market for Tesla. Another factor in Tesla's success is obviously a determined and a once-in-a-generation entrepreneur founder, Elon Musk. He owns 20% of the company. Another factor is the fact that this firm has always had, until recently, a very, very low float. And that means that the shares outstanding being in limited supply relative to the demand, when buy-side investors want to buy the stock, it tends to push the share price up very rapidly. We've got margin expansion anticipated, obviously, for Tesla, and this is going to come in the forms of contribution from autopilot, autonomous driving software revenues, and then obviously continued margin expansion and profitability from advancements in manufacturing and declining battery costs. So these are big. Let's take a look at what this looks like from a price and earnings perspective, because this is where it gets even more impressive. And I want everyone to kind of start burning these images into their minds, because this is where we're going to really start bringing together a lot of the similarities between Tesla and the focus company that I'm going to be unveiling. So Tesla just recently broke profitability, and you can see triple-digit growth I have circled here in red on this Zacks Research System price and earnings chart. And it's definitely going to be normalizing to double-digit growth. It's anticipated to by 2022, and you can see that EPS here popping positive for the first time in 2020. So this is a huge, huge accomplishment. So for 2020, this would be FY1. You can see it down here, but I have it in big print up here, 196% EPS growth. For 2021, it's 174%. For 2022, it's 62%. And it has shares outstanding of 948 million. This is important. Obviously, before the split, they had a lot less shares outstanding. When we get to the company that I'm going to unveil, you'll see that the company that we're going to talk about has much, much lower shares outstanding, which means it has a much lower float, which is big. So the company that we're going to talk about today, which is our next hyper-growth candidate, is MercadoLibre. And this is another company that's just breaking profitability. And I want everyone to see this massive, massive investment that they've started making in the business here, end of 2017 into 2018, and then the forecast growth coming out of that into 2021 and 2022. This, as of this week, is now normalizing to high double-digit growth by 2022. We actually had a consensus estimate revision come in significantly higher for 2021 earlier this week that pushed the 2022 number down from triple digits. So these were all triple digits, which is just absolutely remarkable. So just spectacular growth. We're going to dive into these estimates a lot more here in just a minute. Okay. So for 2020, we're looking at 159%. For 2021, we're going to pop from 159% to 357% growth. And in 2022, we're going to come down to about 94% growth. So this is a massive, massive margin expansion. Shares outstanding, only 50 million. Okay. So that is huge, and that translates to significantly low float relative to other stocks that we could be purchasing. So what is MercadoLibre and how are they doing it? So MercadoLibre is literally one of the purest ecosystems I've seen in a long time, literally since Alibaba and probably Amazon. It's 6 completely integrated e-commerce sites across all of Latin America. So they have a marketplace, they've got classifieds, it's basically Alibaba plus Ant Group plus Amazon plus even eBay 2.0. It's literally all done specifically for Latin America. So a payments platform, Mercado Pago is started out very similar to the way that PayPal and eBay started. Advertising program, they have an AWS solution as well as a shipping service. So fully integrated vertical ecosystem. They are the largest online commerce and payments ecosystem in Latin America. They're present in 18 countries. And based on unique visitors and page views, MELI is literally the market leader in each of the major countries. And the key here is that the more you do the analysis on the growth of MercadoLibre, the more you realize how much they are actually beating Amazon, and they would just make an ideal acquisition target for either, an Amazon or a Walmart or somebody like that wants exposure to Latin America. Interestingly enough, Amazon is opening up distribution centers in Brazil, but MercadoLibre is hands down the leader, and they have done just an outstanding job at bringing consumers onto the ecosystem. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So again, extremely low float shares outstanding, just like Tesla had, means limited supply of shares relative to demand. Again, this is Alibaba with Ant Group and Amazon 2.0. And it's obviously not as capital intensive as Tesla if you do the analysis. It's just not. So they have a growing e-commerce community in Latin America, and the population that they serve is roughly 635 million people. And so 635 million is basically the total addressable market for MercadoLibre. And on top of that, Latin America boasts one of the fastest internet adoption rates in the world. And this is what actually enables the massive total addressable market for MercadoLibre. E-commerce in Latin America only represents 5% of all retail sales. I'm going to say that again. Let that sink in. E-commerce in Latin America only represents 5% of all retail sales. This means that you've basically got a 95% upside total addressable market for MercadoLibre. And you can see this is why Amazon is very keen to get distribution centers opened up in Brazil. Only 50% of Latin American citizens even have a checking account. And Mercado Libre is bringing Latin American buyers and sellers into the ecosystem for payment processing and online commerce at just an absolutely blistering rate. Operating and net margins have bottomed and are turning and are preparing to move to the upside. And for anyone who's ever been on strategy calls, for me, this is my number one buy signal. This is where I always get into my growth opportunities. I love scenarios like this, right? Ideally, I would have hit it during the revenue turn here. It's still not too late. We've got net margins doing another dip off of all that investment. And you can see we've got basically 62% revenue growth, 1 year percent change, just tremendous blistering revenue growth. And you can see operating margins in the bottom of their cycle, now rolling over. And you can see net margins again at the bottom of their cycle and now preparing to charge higher. This is a tremendous entry point when you look at any sort of revenue growth that continue. It's just going to continue to push these net margins higher. So this could be very, very explosive for Mercado Libre on the upside. And this is really the bet that's going on right now. Interestingly enough, all of the investment that was made in this business over the last several years, COVID probably couldn't have happened at a better time for Mercado Libre because they had all of their systems in place ready to capture all of this growth. And with COVID, they were able to actually go in and grab all of those retail establishments that had to close their doors and bring them onto the ecosystem. So let's take a look at what that net margin expansion actually looks like. And you can see that just from, going from basically zero, slightly negative, to a positive 2.8, and we're getting really consistent positive net margin expansion here. Earnings per share just absolutely explodes. We're going from 81% to roughly 1,700%. And that's just forecast 4 quarters growth. So that's the beautiful thing about these kind of margin plays. And I'll go ahead and take a step back. When you have this kind of revenue growth, even if you can just sustain even half of that revenue growth, if you can keep your costs under control and continue to grow your operating margins, this net margin just explodes. And that's really what we're seeing here in this growth and margin check. And again, this is probably one of my favorite views coming out of the Zacks Research System. And for all the advisor tools users out there, we are going to be beginning a project to bring a lot of these views over into the advisor tools platform. So that's going to be really nice when we get all that integrated. I want to draw some really, really distinct similarities between Mercado Libre and Amazon. And again, this is stuff that you can really only see with this price and earnings view in the research system. The way it's set up is just ideally designed for doing this type of analysis, which is so critical in analyzing these hyper growth companies. But if you look at Amazon and you look at this massive reinvestment that Amazon made in the business back in 2013 to 2015, this is when everybody was really questioning the viability, of Amazon, saying, well, they gave Amazon the pass saying, look, Amazon can be profitable whenever they want, even though they were investing all this money in the business. Well, we can see what happened to Amazon's profitability on the outset of this investment. It was the best thing that ever happened. And they're still sustaining growth, 48, 32, 41%. You can see this growth is just absolutely tremendous. I want everybody to burn this image in their head, including this 3-year time span right here, 2013, 2014, 2015. And I want you to look at Mercado Libre. And I want you to ask yourself, do you see any similarities? Here we are in 2018, 2019. It just so happens that we caught this COVID at the tail end of this investment cycle. And now we've got EPS growth, margin growth, expansion in preparation for this next phase of growth for Mercado Libre. It's spectacular. So let me bring this back to Amazon. Here's the 3 years. Again, this is literally Amazon 8 years ago, 2013, 2014, 2015, the growth to follow. You can't hardly even tell the difference between that slide and Mercado Libre. 2018, 2019, 2020, the growth to follow. Okay. As far as performance for Mercado Libre, obviously I call this modest gains in 2020. It's kind of laughable because they are tremendous. Modest relative to Tesla. Again, we're talking about hyper growth companies, and we're talking about similarities between Mercado Libre and perhaps Tesla. And although Mercado Libre more than doubled the performance of Amazon, we've got still an early stage hyper growth company here in Mercado Libre. They probably could have done even more than that. It's going to be interesting to see how this growth actually pans out. But the good news for Advisor Tools users and anybody that's keen on the Zacks Rank is that the Zacks Rank nails the price action for hyper growth stocks. I can't tell you how many examples I have and my sales team have of, stocks like Mercado Libre, Facebook, and others, where, when this Zacks Rank moves from a 3 to a 2 or even a 2 to a 1, the price change that follows is normally tremendous. And if you map the Zacks Rank relative to these changes in price performance, it's pretty spectacular. So this chart is actually available to all Advisor Tools users. In the interactive desktop portion of the platform, you just click on the Key Stats tab, and you'll just scroll down to the lower right side, last column, and just click on Zacks Rank chart, and it'll bring up the Zacks Rank relative to the price change, and you can see that action here. Okay, so what is the Zacks Rank actually picking up ahead of Mercado Libre's price movements? And this is what I really wanted to show everyone relating to those estimate revisions. This is something that I watch all the time for many stocks. And when we look at Zacks Rank, the thing that I love about it is I don't have to go into the institutional platform, the research system, and go through, this revision screen for all my stocks. I can literally just look at the Zacks Rank, and it's pretty much going to tell me when these revisions start taking place. But in the case of Mercado Libre, I want everybody to see the magnitude of these EPS revisions. It's pretty remarkable that over the last 12 months, we've got an F1 estimate that's up by 200%, right? So they were first forecast to lose 97 cents. Now they're expected to be profitable by 97 cents. That's huge. What's even bigger is when you look at F2. So this is December of 2021. We're talking up 400%. Right? 12/31 of 19 was supposed to be 89 cents. Now we're at 441. That last revision in 1 week went from 382 consensus to 441. Okay. So when you think about EPS estimate revisions, you think about Zacks Rank, I want you to think about EPS estimate revisions. I want you to think specifically about analyst agreement, magnitude, the potential for upside, and obviously surprise. Management's reliability and giving guidance and communicating to the street. So we're quantifying all of that for our users in the Zacks Rank. It's award-winning, and we can show you the awards that we've won. So definitely seek out information on that. If you haven't seen it, reach out to us, and we'll happily forward that information over to you and show you where to find it. Okay. The other thing that's impressive about Tesla is its dedication from several of its institutional owners. Bailey Gifford specifically, a group of 42 portfolio managers over in Scotland who are some of the brightest minds in the business, were one of the original investors in Tesla, and they recently made news for, they were actually not only one of the original investors in Tesla, but they were the largest investor in Tesla. And they basically sold down some positions in Tesla because it just got to be too large in their portfolio. But, Bailey Gifford, a huge investor in Tesla, is obviously a good sign when you then look at the institutional ownership from Mercado Libre and see that Bailey Gifford is the largest investor in Mercado Libre as well. So obviously some bright minds, not only in the ownership, but behind Mercado Libre. And it looks like they're definitely looking forward to taking this thing to the next level. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can also link in with us on our company page, Zacks Professional Services, and twitter.com at ZA Tools. Any questions, just go ahead and email them over to advisortools@zacks.com, zrs@zacks.com. This slide deck is available to anyone who requests it. Just go ahead and send us an email, and we'll get that out to you. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button below and be sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next Wednesday for another weekly strategy call. Thank you.